I know Jeremy well, and all I can say is that I think his analysis is 100% correct and has been for years. But you understand, I thought there was a big bubble in 87 and the market indeed collapsed by 40% in 2 months. And I thought there's a big bubble in Japan and in 89. And the market, my prediction at the time was that it would drop by 50%, and then it dropped by 80%. But the conclusion I took was wrong in the case of Japan, because I thought that when the Japanese market, which at that time was 50% of world's stock market capitalization, 50%, that when Japan would collapse, that it would drag down the other market. And that was wrong. It didn't. As you know, in the 1990s, the US stock market did well, and the NASDAQ did fantastically well. And the emerging markets did well until 94, and Hong Kong until 97. And Latin America did very well until 94, up 20, 30 times from the late 80s. So what I want to say is the bubble scenario of Grantham is correct. We are in a gigantic bubble. I mean, you look at real estate prices in the US, you look at art prices, you look at cryptos, you look at anything. It's not inexpensive anymore. And I'm aware of the gold bulls that say the gold price should be at 20,000 and all this. But this is actually not necessarily my impression. I think it will go up, but it will go up gradually. And maybe in a crisis mode, it can shoot up by $100 a day or so, but it hasn't happened yet. But my feeling is that if you have the collapse Grantham is talking about, then you and I will also have a decline in our asset values. There's no question about this. Say you have $1 million US, then it will drop to maybe 700,000 and maybe to 500,000. But if everything else drops by 80% and you and I, we drop by 30%, then this is much better than if everybody else goes up by 100% and we only go up by 80%. You understand? This is a question of relative values. My view is about all this talk about collapse. Yes, it can happen, but it's interesting in this crisis of COVID that is essentially induced by the incompetence of the bureaucracy and their arrogance, notably, that during that period of time, real estate prices went up in many areas. And my view about this is that a lot of people like myself, I say to myself, I'm at my age, I can't go and work as a waiter anymore. And it's unlikely that I can find a job as a pimp anymore. So I have to kind of be prudent in my investments. And I believe a prudent investment is to have a house with real estate. In other words, where you could be surviving on your property, at least food-wise, by planting your food. Or you live in an area. Like the other day, I had a prince in my office. He's from the royal family, but not in line to be the king. But he's a nice guy. He rides, he also has BMWs. He rode with a friend from Thailand to Tibet, to Lhasa, on his motorcycle 15 years ago. So he's like a modern person. And he said, you know, in Chiang Mai at least, we will never die of hunger, because this is an agricultural area in the north of Thailand. And I can see that living next to the river passes in front of our house, the ground is incredibly fertile because we irrigate it with water that we pump from the river. And the river water is not clean. It is like mud, you know, it's like muddy. And that is a natural fertilizer. So I think I could easily live. I would have to buy a cow and someone would have to know how to milk the cow and get up in the morning, and hens and chicken and so forth. But this is a consideration. I think we live in an environment, and we've seen this with COVID, Never before in history has the government had the arrogance and the dictatorial power to ask you to close your business, to shut down your restaurant, shut down your shop, and to tell you you are not allowed to even go smoking outside your house on your own ground. Never happened before. If we believe, or if we just assume the scenario of Grantham, I can tell you, I'm just reading Pareto's work about elite cycles. It is very interesting that the elite cycles occur, and every society has always had elites. So to believe that in a democracy there is democracy is a fallacy to start with.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information. And it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.